Okay, so now we're going to take a look at solving equations that have like terms in them and solving equations that involve the distributive property. So before you watch this tutorial, I would suggest that you start off with the solving 1 and 2-step equations tutorial because it involves some of the basics that I might kind of skip over in this one. So when we talk about like terms, we just mean terms in a math sentence that are alike. So for example, 6p is alike with minus 5p because they both have the same variable p attached to them. And likewise, plane number 2 is alike with the plane number -8 because they both do not have a variable attached. So when you're combining like terms, that just means you can only add and subtract plane numbers with other plane numbers, and you can only add and subtract numbers that have a letter with other numbers that have the same letter attached. That's not multiplying and dividing. We're only talking about adding and subtracting those like terms. So anyway, solving equations with like terms. First step would be combine the like terms that you have on the same side of the equal sign to make this shorter equation. So 6p minus 5p, if I have 6 p's and I take away 5 of those p's, I just have 1 p. Minus 8 comes down because I did not combine it or cancel it yet. Equal sign stays in the same spot, and the 2 comes down as well. Now I'm looking at 2 equals p minus 8, just a single step equation. Cancel out minus 8, I would do plus 8 on both sides of the equal sign. Minus 8 plus 8 simply cancels out. 2 plus 8 we solve, which is 10. 10 equals p, looks like it's the value of that variable. So what can I do to check it? Well, that would be plug in a 10 in place of all of these original p's in my initial equation. So 2 equals 6 times 10 instead of times p, minus 8 minus 5 times 10 instead of times p. 6 times 10 is 60, minus 8, 5 times 10 is 50, minus 50 should equal 2. 60 minus 8 is 52, minus 50, equal sign stays, and 2 stays. 52 minus 50 is 2, equal sign stays, 2 equals 2, so I know I'm correct. Now let's take a look at another equation. Now this one has like terms on opposite sides of the equal sign, so that's a little bit different. In order to combine these like terms, I'm going to have to do opposite operations. So I know I want to put this 5x with this 6x, and I know I want to put this plane number -3 with this plane number -5. But what order should I do that in? Well, I could take the 6x minus 6x and minus 6x on both sides of the equal sign, but 5 minus 6 would give me a negative number, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do minus 5x and minus 5x on both sides of the equal sign. Why am I doing minus 5x? Because there's no sign in front of this 5x. So that means it's a positive 5x, and the opposite of positive is negative. So since everything's opposite in an equation, I'll do minus 5x on both sides. Positive 5x and negative 5x simply cancel out. 6x minus 5x equals 1x. Minus 3 equals negative 5 comes down because it hasn't canceled out. Now, I'm going to take this -3 and combine it with this -5 because they're both plain old numbers. To cancel out a -3, I have to do plus 3 on both sides of the equal sign. Minus 3 plus 3 simply cancels. -5 plus 3 equals -2. X comes down because it has not been canceled. It looks like x equals -2. Why is -5 plus 3 -2? Well, the rules for adding integers say if you have different signs, a negative and a positive, subtract the digits. 5 minus 3 is 2. Take the sign of the larger number. Since 5 is larger and it's negative, that's where we got that -2 from. I should be able to check if x is -2. I should be able to plug in a -2 in place of both of these initial x's, and it should, both sides should be equal. 6 times -2 minus 3 should be equal to 5 times -2 minus 5. Well, 6 times -2 is -12 minus 3 equals 5 times -2 is -10 minus 5. -12 minus 3 is -15. -10 minus 5 is -15. Both sides are equal, so I know I'm correct. Now let's take it a step further and look at solving equations that involve distributive property. What distributive property means is if you have a number right outside of parentheses, that always signals multiplication. A number pressed up against a parenthesis with no operation means multiply. But since we have two terms inside this parenthesis that are separated by an operation signal, we need to distribute that number outside and multiply it by both terms inside the parentheses. So therefore, we're going to do 4 times y and 4 times 2 before we can do anything else with this equation. We got to basically break out these parentheses. 4 times y is 4y, 4 times 2 is 8, plus sign stays between, equal sign stays on the mirror, and 32 comes straight there. Now we have a two-step equation here. We always cancel two-step equations in the opposite order of PEMDAS, so we cancel addition and subtraction before multiplication and division. The opposite of plus 8, minus 8 on both sides of this equation. Plus 8 minus 8 cancels out. 32 minus 8 equals 26. Equal sign stays the same. 4y comes straight down because we have not canceled it yet. Oh, I'm sorry, 32 minus 8, 24. I didn't do actual subtraction, I did mental math there, so we'll show the work here. 12 minus 8 is 4, 2 comes down 24. Sorry about that. See what happens when you rush? So anyway, 4y equals 24. 4y means 4 times y. So to cancel out y times 4, I will do divided by 4 on both sides of the equal sign. Divided by 4. Times 4 divided by 4 cancels. 24 divided by 4 is 6. Variable comes right down because it has not been canceled yet. So y equals 6. Should be able to check that by plugging the 6 in place of this y in the original equation. Well, let's see. 4 parentheses, instead of y, I'm going to do 6 plus 2 equals 32. 6 plus 2 is 8. 4 stays. 4 times 8 is 32. 32 equals 32, so I know I'm correct. Final equation. Let's just erase this writing that I got on top of it. And here we go. So now we have an equation that involves distributive property and like terms. So this is basically as hard as they get. First, we gotta put on here for the equal sign. First step is always distribute. You gotta break out these parentheses. You can't do anything until you break out the parentheses. So 3 times y is 3y. 3 times 5 is 15. Minus sign stays between them. Plus 2 comes right down because they haven't canceled it yet. Equals 5. Now, negative 15 plus 2 are like terms. So before I start doing opposite operations on both sides of the equal sign, let me just put those together. Negative 15 plus 2 equals negative 13. 3y comes down because I have not yet canceled it, equals 5. Now, two-step equation. 3y minus 13 equals 5. Opposite order of PEMDAS tells me cancel addition and subtraction before multiplication and division. So I'm going to cancel this minus 13 by doing plus 13 on both sides of the equation. Minus 13 plus 13 cancels. 5 plus 13 equals 18. 3y comes down because we haven't done anything with it yet. 3y means 3 times y, so to cancel out multiplication by 3, I'm going to do division by 3 on both sides of this equation. Times 3 divided by 3 cancels. 18 divided by 3 equals 6. Equal sign stays. Variable comes down. Looks like y equals 6. Well, how can I check that? Simply go back to my original equation, and in place of this y, I should be able to put a 6, and it should equal out. So I will do 3 parentheses 6 instead of y minus 5 plus 2 equals 5. Let's see. 6 minus 5 is 1. 3 comes down, plus 2 comes down, equals 5. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 comes down, equals 5. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 equals 5. So I know I'm correct. Solving equations with like terms and distributive property.